There have been over 250,000 layoffs in 2023 alone, many of them senior executive roles. If you've been out there looking for open positions, only to find yourself competing against thousands of other applicants, or even worse, you get to the interview stage and the company says they're now on a temporary hiring freeze, you're going to have to change your tactics and change those fast. Job hunting in this type of an economic environment requires a very different approach. I'm going to show you today how top candidates are finding high-paying jobs with almost zero competition. Welcome to the Dream Job America podcast. I'm your host, Tim Tonello, where we talk about all things hiring, but specifically strategies, tools, and tactics for finding your next dream job. Now today we're going to talk about a couple activities that are being used by senior execs to build relationships and actually source opportunities in what we call the unpublished or hidden market. Essentially, jobs are going to be made available in the short term or ones that could potentially be created for you directly. Now, before we get started, please hit the subscribe button if you think I'm adding value. It really helps go a long way in helping me promote further content on this channel. Now, in today's marketplace, it's very, very slow. The feedback I've been getting from both clients and top candidates and other people that I'm connected to in the industry is that a lot of companies have had massive layoffs and many are on hiring freezes or on a temporary hold as they're looking to see what's going to happen with a potential recession either later on this year or Q1 of 20. So it's very, very competitive out there. I have a friend who I was talking to the other day who was looking at an SVP role, and we looked at a LinkedIn posting for that job, and they had over 1,000 applicants within the first week, and they were adding 50 a day. So this is not really a space that you want to be competing in unless you are a total rock star stud in perfect alignment for that job. There's got to be a better way, and the top candidates are doing it very differently in this type of environment. So rather than look at positions that are out there in the public or they're confidentially held by recruiters, most of the top people I'm talking to are looking to take what I call going in through the back door, where they're not really looking for something that's already open or designated as an existing job, but they're looking more to go in and do an analysis for a company to better understand what the need's going to be, and then to try to strategically position themselves in some type of interim role where they can be in the lead position when that job is created, or potentially even give a little nudge to force that position to be created today with them as the lead, if not the only candidate. Now, there are three basic activities that I see a lot of people doing to make this impact. The first is taking on a board position at the company. Now, we're talking about smaller companies, middle market companies, not giant corporations where a board of director role is something fundamentally different. There's a lot of oversight, there's a lot of legal commitments that are involved, that potential liability that's brought back upon the individual. We're talking about somebody who goes into the board and is more of a strategic advisor. So there may be a financial sponsor who is an active board member. It could be a PE firm. It could be someone who serves on a venture capital firm. However, this type of role is not making those type decisions, but you're really providing oversight and focus on certain key problematic areas. Sometimes these roles are paid cash. Many times they're paid in equity or some other vehicle in which they look to establish that relationship. But you're basically having the ability to sit over time, develop relationships, but most importantly, really learn kind of the nuts and bolts and the insights of the company, where their biggest problems are, where their biggest challenges are, what the opportunities are for them over the coming year, and you can provide oversight to that, but potentially, depending upon what your functional role had been previously, move into a position and help them either on a project or to take on a role full time. I've even seen positions where that person ends up becoming the CEO of the company because they build that relationship and come to the conclusion that they can make a bigger impact if the current CEO or founder of the company maybe moves into a different role. Most of these positions almost certainly are going to be sourced through traditional networking or strategic networking. I call it activating your network, and we've talked about this in other videos, and I will go do a deeper dive in this later on. It's very difficult to call somebody up out of the blue and try to sit on their board. Usually they're led in by a warm referral who thinks very highly of them and has gone out and represented them for the company directly. Now, the second way I see people going in is through advisory work agreements, sometimes referred to as short-term consulting contracts. So this is not what we call a fractional arrangement. Fractional arrangement is where somebody can't afford, let's say, to bring in a finance person, so they bring in kind of an ex-CFO or VP of finance who's willing to come in 2-3 days during the week. They're paid to do a job, they get their money, and they're out. We're talking about somebody coming in to solve a specific problem, maybe to do an analysis for them, but they're coming in kind of in a trusted advisory capacity, which is very, very different. And in many cases, the company, depending upon the problem you're trying to solve and your expertise that you bring to the table, they may be actually looking at you in almost a try and buy scenario. Now, these often will lead to the creation of roles, since the companies really feel over that period, whether it's 30, 60, 90, or even several months, they feel like they're already working with that person because they really are. So there's a sense of comfort in that individual that the company develops. And if they're going to go out and hire someone and they feel like you bring a lot to the table, why waste 3-4 months conducting a long internal search or an external search through an agency and having to pay a lot of fees when you can just kind of roll into this starting tomorrow and get it going? There's not a lot of risk for them. And so it's a great way to position yourself to have that role created for you directly. Now again, networking is going to be the primary vehicle in which these opportunities are going to arise, but it is possible to do a warm or cold outreach through email or through social media like LinkedIn to make those connections and make a proposal, specifically if you're addressing a pain point that you've learned either through discussing that with them or through somebody else. And a third approach that I see as very effective is to go ahead and serve in some capacity with a philanthropic organization. So either sit on the board as a fellow board member, or maybe you're in some work capacity, but you find a lot of high-powered people that are running companies, running organizations that sit on these boards. They're very prestigious, but what they all have in common is most of the people sitting on these boards, the mission of that board is something deeply intimate and personal to them. So if they're sitting on a heart foundation, something related to the autism community, usually they're connected with a personal experience, either with themselves or somebody that they know or love and care about, and is very meaningful to them. And so it's a really great way for you, if you share common cause, I'm not saying you go in if it doesn't matter to you, but something that's important to you as well, then you have a chance to really build an intimate relationship that's kind of coming from the heart. And that often will lead to discussions of business through a separate discussion. And I found in those situations, because the person on the other side of the table feels like you share similar values and a similar mission, that they're very open and willing to share more intimate details of what their problems are at their company and what some of their future plans are going to be. So sometimes that takes a little bit longer, and it's rewarding too, because you're also doing something good for the organization. But I find it's one of the biggest ways that deals are ultimately made. People work together on various boards. They start having a separate kind of coffee talk a little bit later. The proposal's made, and now you're back into that same type of situation where you're helping them solve a problem. In many cases, they may even tell you that they're going to have to hire somebody. They're going to have to make some type of commitment to addressing this issue over the next 6 months, and then you're in the catbird seat to make that recommendation, which of course is going to be you. So the key in getting into these potential advisory roles in the first place does involve activating your network in a very strategic way. And I will have, as I shared earlier, a video on that soon to be forthcoming that may be more of a workshop that'll show you exactly how to do that, since you can't just like go out and get together with people in your network and say, hey, do you know anyone who's looking for consultants to come in with their business? I guess that's possible. It tends not to be the way it works, but more of that will be forthcoming. I also shared earlier in the video that if you stay with me, I've got kind of a pro tip at the end, which I'd like to share with you now. I have always found that the way to keep the dialogue going after that first meeting, whether it goes great or whether it's a tepid reaction, is to leave them on a good note and to show them that you can already give them something of value that shows that you are a player, that you're someone who's serious and someone who can make things happen, but also someone that goes the extra mile and cares about you. And I call that leaving a farewell gift. Now, of course, a gift, this is not a present that you're going to go out and buy off of Amazon and like a gold coaster and leave with them, something like that, but it's something that could directly help them with their business. Let me give you a couple examples. Coming into something with a contact referral of a person that is a specialist in an area that could add value for their company is always a great opportunity. So I just did this the other day with a client. They're trying to figure out what type of artificial intelligence applications or direction they should go within their company. I know a guy who's a superstar in that space, one of the top companies in the world. And I could call him up and ask him if he'd spend 30 minutes with them. And he'd certainly do that because our relationship is a favor. That's something that's really impactful because those people don't know those contacts, and they're going to have to go out and make those directly themselves. Now, of course, if you're able to bring a contact that has money to the table, that's a wonderful way to add value. Also, if you're able to help them ultimately raise money, some of those funds are going to be used for hiring, and hopefully they'll hire you. And the third thing that I always like to do, if I can bring a potential client relationship for them, or a strategic partner, or a vending relationship, that's always beneficial. I find that when you can leave that type of helpful gift at the end of the meeting, it is really differentiating yourself. Most candidates do not do that. And it shows that you're willing to go the extra mile, that you've listened to them, you understand what some of their problems are, and that you care enough about the company and their personal success to go ahead and do something like that for them. And usually, no matter how the meeting goes, just that act of goodwill will often be enough to keep the conversation going and for you to get back and have that second meeting. So if you like the content you heard in this video today and you thought it added value, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button. It makes a big difference in my ability to move forward and continue to create great content. And for hanging out with me today, if you're thinking about getting started looking to make a career change or actively looking or even hitting roadblocks, I want you to go ahead and download my free 4-step job preparation guide to finding your next dream job. You can find that at www.guide, and the link is also provided in the show notes for you below. And that's it for today. Stay healthy, stay safe, and happy hunting. Until the next time.